Tripled in the post-Shaw era. So someone, and why not me, needs to write about fucking. Because it is terrifying. Because I am 47, but really I would have grabbed at 27, at 17. Because it's not polite. And I am always very pleased and thank you. Because there are already enough words for snow. Because of shame, that fishbone in the throat. Because we are made of stars. So this is the first poem from my new manuscript, which is called Oh the Body. It doesn't have a publisher yet, so if you are a publisher, let's talk. At 45, I go to the club. Hey, kid, did you see me fly through the door in pale blue? Pretty, in the formal shininess I only got to show off for a few minutes at a wedding before my toddler's wail forced me to slump 4 hours in a shades-pulled, dank hotel. Kid, I see you dance floor bobbing, a floundering lure in deep beat currents. You could swerve, drop, cruise like a moth through pale blossoms. You don't have to look me in the eyes. I know I'm here. It's true, I don't say the word pussy in public. I don't when the DJ demands we testify, spew it like you do, all slink and screech, all howl. I can tell from the quick flicks of your jaw, you don't know all that word means. Even if you get kicked out of the club fighting for the girl you don't love, even if you scared, you stung your chest with the wrong tattoo of a small bent blossoms rose, you're not alone. We all yearn. We're all here in the beat's embrace. Bend your knees, feel your hips dip and dip again. I am the witch who can teach this to you. A, a lifetime of underground ballrooms, off back alleys lit with a few bulbs, where the bass takes over my bones, my breath, pours blood through my heart, asteroids and spells colliding in a cold, dark sky, my breaths alive in blacklight. Sink your ass down and shake it like a can of midnight whipped cream, like a boxcar coming around the bend. Oh, my boy, oh, the body. So in addition to writing about the Bible and the body and sex, I'm also very interested in art and aging. And I'm particularly fond of Rodin. Touching. I have a thing for marble that has been beneath Rodin's hands. I want to pull my thumb down a spine like a skull down the Schuylkill, push harder, gasp a little more. Once I wanted a man so hard I bit paint off the walls, can still taste the grit. I can see my narrow dorm, how we knocked Foucault off the shelf. Or that late afternoon, leaving the strawberry wine cooler half drunk, when my knees hit jet takeoff angle, him right there in the roar. Maybe instead of my thumb skimming the lips of Rodin's The Kiss, I should crouch, be the old woman, all sagging breasts. That would be the safe choice. No one would be startled. So Mark Donowski at One Art published this, and he told me that this was not the first poem he had read where people having sex knocked a philosopher off the shelf. So I'm part of a theme. So this is the last poem in my first book called Evening. It's called Evening Song, and this is going to give you a hint of what the poem is about, and then we can discuss afterwards. So this is the cover. Evening Song. When my daughter, straight from her bath, brings her body to mine, and she has no breasts, and she has only the slight dip in the straight line that is her, still damp with the equinox. When she molds her body to mine, her head under my head, her long rib cage against my deep breasts, our heartbeats a processional, then I know what is in the hands Rodin sculpted and called cathedral. And this is me and my partner replicating the statue that Rodin made, the sculpture that Rodin made, called Cathedral. Okay, now we're getting to Bible poems or poems about. Well, this one is about God, and it is, I think, it's the first poem in my second book, Shake and Tremor. When God was a woman, she explained obtuse angles, had to lay cable. She did not accept apologies for the incessant thrumming. She understood that tigers eat alligators. She set it up that way. She rode the New York subways, looked strangers in the eye. She had her first child at 99, changed her name. It's amazing what a woman can accomplish when she is not afraid. And that last point, I really owe to Audre Lorde. She taught me that. So this is the title poem of my second book, Shake and Tremor. And this is actually the poem that sent me on the journey of writing. The official term is midrashic poetry, kind of retelling and rethinking and reseeing stories in the Bible. And this one is about Lot's wife, who you might remember, she was, they were escaping Sodom and Gomorrah as God was raining down fire and brimstone, and they were told to look back, or maybe just Lot was told to look back, but she looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt. And this is in her voice. Shake and Tremor. Still the blue heron lifts long legs over early morning. Still the blue-green boulders filled with barnacles. Still the green ropes of sea. Still rivulets in the sand, remnants of the night. Still I believe in the power of lust, the full shake and tremor of living on a moving planet that revolves around a ball of fire. Still the crabs, small and white, like moons in need, like promises unspoken or promises spoken and unfulfilled. Still I wish to be swallowed whole by the sea, the spume and crash of the sea, still the salt-rich water coating my skin, still my porous skin. So I'm not going to assume anybody is familiar with Genesis or any of these stories. So I'm going to give you some background. So Sarah and Abraham, who were called Sarai and Abram at the time, were supposed to become the founders of the Jewish people, and they were not able to conceive. So then Sarai said that she would take, some translations said Hagar, her maidservant. I prefer Hagar, her slave girl, to have a child with Abram. And, and they were called Abram and Sarai then. And she did. And poem is about the three of them. Women's work, all of them. Abram, Sarai, and Hagar, born into a time of quiet. No radio line hum, no buzz from broken transformers. You could hear the cattle in the far field. It's hard to imagine that level of quiet. How you could hear Abram's footfall, how it differed from Sarai's as it approached the flap in Hagar's tent. The tent made of goatskin from the goat Hagar raised and fed and chastised and chased, and eventually whose throat she slit. The goat whose carcass she butchered, meat she seared, whose hide she scraped, softened with its own brains, her own urine, because she knew how and she could. And now, as the supple skin Hagar stretched and tied is lifted, it whispers, survive. So this next one is from Judges 4, the story of Deborah and Yael. And Deborah was a judge, which meant a political leader, and she was actually in charge of the military. And she recruited Yael to seduce the enemy general, and then when he was asleep in her tent, to drive a tent peg through his temple. So, yeah, so this is the story. And in the Bible, we don't know why Yael agreed to do this. And what I have decided is that Deborah and Yael were lovers. They were partners. Yael tells how she and Deborah got together, and then what? I don't hide the butch. Wear faded Levi's, a thick leather belt. My Doc Martens crunch the male gaze like eggshells. The goat's teats warm in my calloused hands. I can lean my cheek against the goat's frosted side, thick wool in my hair. I do not undress my heart. The first time she took my hand, I took her hand, our fingers laced like shadows under a date palm. 10,000 men under her command? Of course they won. The second time she lay her thumb over my knuckles, called them the hills of the Holy Land, I asked, is that wise? She lifted my hands to her lips, named me stronger than I know. I was stronger than I knew as she brought in all the gloss and paint a warrior could want, so I dripped red as a femme. I dripped red. The third time she took my hand, together we stripped my bloodied blouse, unhooked the borrowed bra, we tore my soiled skirt from my skin. These are my hips, my hands in her hands, because I am a woman in her hands. So I'm assuming most of you are poets here, and perhaps you've had the experience of different strands coming together. So I'd been, studying and thinking a lot about Deborah and Yael, and then the Ukraine war started, and I heard about, women throwing Molotov cocktails in front of tanks, and I thought, what would I be able to do to defend my values? And it felt, and so the poem's called Not a Thought Experiment. If I were asked, like Deborah asked Yael, in the name of the words we polish like coins, to lure a general, hammer through his temple, could I? Could I throw a Molotov cocktail at a tank so a boy in the wrong country, in the wrong war, explodes? All the words he meant to send his mother. Aztecs sacrificed children so they and everything in the earth would grow. Can any of us bear to hear the children scream? Could I take my body to the front, put it in front of tanks? In these cities, women own functioning washing machines, and now they torque their bodies into tent pegs. So I was reading the blurb about Robert, and very excited to see that he had published in Winter in America again, because I have too, which is an anthology that came out right as Trump was elected the second time. That's why I think it's called Again, Winter in America. And we're all looking for ways to speak out against this regime and find our way to hope. I am afraid of the answer. At a comfort inn in South Dakota, I wait for the elevator with a white-haired white woman and her pressed jeans white man. I am a white woman. Though my hair might be too curly for some folks' comfort, I can nice with the best of them. I open with, "Where are you heading?" and follow up, "Oh, I love the state fair." Okay, I've only been a half a dozen times, but I get into it, and not just in an ironic, God, look at these yokels kind of way. Quilts make me think of standing before the Tiffany stained glass at the Met with my New York grandma, all that glowing color, and my other grandma saving every scrap after the pogroms, tiny stitches, a way of love. I listen when a 4 H club member teaches me caretaking for pig hooves, a high grit emery board. I, I tiptoe through barns, choke on rabbits and goats. For some, this is the smell of home. I tell her my family is on our way to Chicago. Chicago, she says, it's so crowded. And I know the way my friend tells me she always knows when she is smacked into a where are you from, go back door. Crowded is code for black or brown or Jewish. I try to picture us all at the fair, tearing into all American deep fried everything, stretching out our arms to repair the world. Okay, now I have this, I'm eager to ask this question. This is my first time reading this one in public. Has anyone ever been in a public bathroom and the person in the stall next to you starts crying uncontrollably? Okay. Well, Kim Adenizio obviously has, because she has a poem with this exact same name. I wrote mine after hers. To the woman in the next stall who starts crying uncontrollably, after Kim Adenizio. Maybe you shouldn't answer the phone as you pee, as your as your red spike heels rock out to Macho Man. But what am I saying? We all know there's no place to take the call. Death breaks your door, knives your sacks of sugar and salt into an unholy mess, waves in a barrage of ants, a hurricane, and here's where I admit, though ants have crossed my sill, I've never curled before the deluge. I've never prayed. Waiting here under fluorescent lights, I will find your eyes. Let Macho Man give way to Mamma Mia. Here I go again. How can I resist you? Stranger, I will open my arms. Or that's what I hope I'll do. The tribe I want to be in. Okay, 3-poem warning. It was going to be 2, but I added one. I took a class recently on writing Japanese poetry, and I also went to Japan recently. And this is a Zui Hitsu after Kimiko Han, where Zui Hitsu, things just kind of flow along, and that's like a river, kind of flow along like that. And poets are allowed to make things up, right? Things do not have to be true in your poem. But in this one, everything is true. Things that make me cry instantly. As a mother passes the weight of the Torah to her daughter or son, as I passed it to my daughter and son, as the rabbi chants, L'Ador Vador. My daughter walks on stage, rising above southbound I-5, sluggish, predictable clouds, the mountain. My daughter walks on stage, Rosalind, that innocent ingenue, or Jerry, one of the hard-drinking, stiff-legged betrayers, or the joyful bride, the tipsy mother-in-law, the predatory hottie, anyone. My son starts the race, golden hair, almost as long as his father's, the day I finally agreed to marry him. Up in French braids, like his father's, the gorgeous day I married him. When my son passes me as I yell his name, David, David, on the first 2K loop. When he comes up the hill in the dust, fighting to stay second to last. When he kicks to the finish, a reserve I had no idea he had. And when he flows through the finish line, all of us yelling, David, David, I swallow hard, shoulders shaking like blossoms. Perhaps you shouldn't read things that make me cry instantly in public, I gotta learn this. Let's see. Okay. So As you have probably figured out, I'm Jewish. And I grew up here in Seattle, but then I traveled all over the place with my partner, John. And eventually we came home. Hallelujah. It's wonderful. And we're here to stay. But one of the stops along the way was South Bend, Indiana, where we were teaching at the University of Notre Dame. And you probably know that's a Catholic school, and it was a bit of a shock to my system. University of Notre Dame. Jesus is everywhere here, usually dying or dead. When he was still a Jew like me, Jesus would go where women go, to the well, do the forbidden, talk to women, even Samaritans. He would know women's secrets before they spoke them. He would not judge. That is the Jesus I finally find, outdoors cast in bronze, one hip balanced on the lip of the well, a living hand lifted. What would they do, the Christians, if I sat next to Jesus? What would they do if I put my arms around the warm, rusted metal of his back? Oh, I am so lonely here. Jesus, Rabbi, before you become a martyr, comfort me. Okay, thank you. And this is my last poem. It's called The Language of Kinship, and I picked it, I just added it because it's about building community and found family and creating a space where people come together. The language of kinship. When my sister answers the phone, I say, hey, it's your sister. When my brother-in-law answers, I say, hey, it's your sister. Boaz is our close relative, Naomi tells Ruth the Moabite, our protector, redeemer. All my life, I've called my dad's best friend from college Uncle Michael. He's an anthropology prof. At his son's bar mitzvah, he said, you're at the fictive kin table. The woman who runs the Euro shop always calls me Auntie Debbie, even when our kids aren't around, because she's from a country that does family like that. And one day during COVID, I stood on the cold sidewalk below her balcony and shouted picture books to her children. Whither thou goest, I will go, Ruth says to Naomi. Your people shall be my people. On Dancing with the Stars, the young star calls her dancing mentor, my dude. He says it back, no confusion, no fear. Thank you.
So, this poem is called Lot, as told by Benny the Browns Point Wino. Touch the water and taste your hand. Touch my sea and feel its bile. Tend the surface of this holy water that I wrecked before I burned. His salt and mine, his last command, I could not strive to follow. A condiment of his rage, I drowned my sorrow before he could throw me in the fire. Tell him I know the mirrors that broke upon his father's gaze. Tell him that I know the fires were not of men, but sage mirrored for daughters. Mirrored for mother and child reunions, his endless coming markers. Before the word made divining sense, now all sense is this bar. Tell him of that third day. Tell him of how I left the brimstone. Tell him of the rumbling ground and that first hasty arrow and my last fight for him from Damascus. Tell him of the one who heard my cry and raised me above his flames. My howl upended his order. Tell me why I'm here, a human shadow, to keep orthodoxy stable. Horns flare, and cities may vanish, but I still got my ripple by this water. Thank you. This next poem, like I was telling you, like when I came in, we both that sometimes I like to positively exercise my gangster by talking to the devil and hectoring the devil in poems. And this poem is called "The Homeboy Whispers at the Devil About Shootings." Do you gaze at us, Lou? Do you see your majors? Do you see in this marriage of technology and filth still see your pious virtues? Or did you, at the helm in the middle of the bargain, see us as sepia statues? Do you see your kingdom? Did it really begin as a burn? Did your tools and the lot he set explode and not clash at your tantrums and whims? Did you sharpen the line edges of circle cages and borders as an ode to your despairing self? Did you tell all the nihilists to raise all imperfections? Because without the human, there is nothing left. Did you see your perfection and leap workers in their baskets? Did you see the show trials in the trials before, in their bodies gone to market? Did you plan with kings in common butchers, performative perfection's budget? Did you break in silence at his numbered almonds? Or was it a maze approbation? Do you still agonize, Lou? Do you still gnash over us? Do you still roar at him, at his sloppy errant eye, and a lot of rituals and symbols? Do you still want to break, blow, and burn? Or do you just despair of windows? Thank you. This next poem, sometimes I write, this is my book. It's 20 years. I wanted to center a book about the language, the nuances, and the inner lives of Black people in the Hilltop area in Tacoma. And I wanted to write it in a way that gave the reader a portal and an audience, get a portal to see them. And this is one of those poems that I feel is integral to the book's message. To the sisters who sell hat bands on smoky late summers at the Commerce bus stop. First a king, then a god, then her mother in velvet. In the motherland out of fiber, gold, neon, and twig. Then the suns touch and eclipse each other. Hot gray obscures flitting flecks upon Commerce Street. Yet she hustles under skies between stops. The thick of fire smog dims the promise of sight in a row of low-flying suns. The structured high-rises, reduced to mush for a moment, yet history sparkles in your hand. Bars and night restaurants fade in transit. Posters and signs mesh behind her glitter in autumnal palettes of neon. They linger in the cooling smog, in patterns out of broke patterns, in hand and cover both fixed and fluid, woven from the untidy to be stable, woven in accompaniment to be structured and flexible, in the background of creation and form. In the hazy dilapidation of this new health season, her hat bands on the air in declining air. The tidy and the abandoned, disparate mass you can still touch and feel on their level. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just glad to be here. Glad to see all of you. Glad for snacks. This is this next poem. You find it is after the E. Cummings poem of the same name. When God lets my body be. When God lets my body be, from each ripped loom shall sprout a tree, a fruit that exists only for you. My rosary beads will make you a laurel, of crowns, medallions, and alleyway garlands no one but us can see. My love, let me be your unknown color. Let my back beget an afro sun that turns inner depths asunder, that recolors all my ordinary worlds into beauty from scabs of black that hold poison rivers. Then, my love, I will swim in the hell and part out its ashen seas. Love, our legs are a nation of labyrinths. I want to wander with you with no thought to go home and no law greater than your conceit. My riddles and scars I will lay at your feet and alchemize into orchids. Thank you. Sometimes I talk to my grandma. She's been gone for over 30 years, but I still talk to her. And she was dishing with like her with some like African ancestors, and they told me the story about how the resurrection actually happened. And this poem is called "The Nepsis Sisters Telling the Homeboy About the Resurrection." It was the second day his father rested. Disbelievers swept the cities for witnesses. Cocks crowed to the minute. Loved ones hid, but could not part with any more blood. In the second Passover, they could not sacrifice for the hell of judgment and the absurd. But we rose and made a night of falcon wings. Juba gods rumbled, all dirt from Damascus, to see the wheel of all bones turn two by two. And the wailing women turned into hawks that transmogrified in the moving the earth's axis, and burned white hieroglyphs that flew over rocks to make their cave enclosure sign. And after the circle came and left, the sun, upon his return, was swept by cartographers masquerading his friends, idolaters waving their wild-cut palms to block him from the arms of his mother, blocked from the heresies of Magdalene's arms. The sun kept his head on a swivel. The father, again, turned depravity to myth. The sun, once again, dreamed of exit. Thank you. We'll do one more grandma poem. Sometimes she and I, we talk about artists and we talk about life and history. And this one came up.
Robert, I just wanted to pick up that mic. You're not using the stand. Can you just move it forward?
Oh.
Yeah, just move it forward toward the speaker. More.
Yeah. Like that?
As much as you can. As much as you can, though.
Okay.
You can get closer to that.
Sounds good. Yeah. This poem is called "The Homeboy Listens to Big Mama Talk About Donny Hathaway." It is the dissonance of cloud and fire, the soul man's unanswered prayer, red rungs closed in broken ground, staircases invisible in air, Silences reshuffle lyres. Transitions linger there as specters of unbearable beauty. How haunted the sense, how hard the alchemy of a bluesologist turned to a ghost, of a windowless song and a healer lost and marked by his turn to the sky. Negative capability becomes the human seraph on the day he could not fly. Yet listen, boy, soul claps, the drums. The kunga is a rabbit that outran Massa's gun. The living code of briar patches and symbol Sunday songs and work grind tone poems. Language outlasts revolutions if you make it new and human. If our melody cannot carry to the gilded gates of heaven, he has kept us beyond understanding. To be kept, boy, is to feel love's alchemy. So love him and hear his cries. Weep, child, for the soul man's fall. Praise him, for he taught you to fly. Yeah, I could hear him. They were saying, "Preach, motherfucker!" But they weren't saying, "Motherfucker." This is kind of going deep into myself. Going deep into my own blues and my own um, getting up um, and where some of the things and trying to turn it into art. And this poem is called "To Derek, who pulled a pistol on me the last time I saw him." Ease up with the mouth, cuz. The bust that strengthened me for you was lethal. One thing I want to say. This is after Czeslaw Miłosz's dedication. The bust that strengthened me for you was lethal. You mixed up farewell from our squad for the end of your life. Lyrical abandonment for inspiration of books. Coiled force with paper coiled hope as your face was a mask overlooking the chamber. Why the fuck you talking all happy and shit? It was a memory that triggered you. My reminiscence that drove you mad. My good talking that made you touch me in the head with it. In the hill of shallow pierced rivers. As intimate as the way you passed me your auntie's red drink. Below the bridge that led to our broken city. When you laid me this groundwork once, in short grounded words. Be quiet. Keep our eyes open. Don't let niggas get you. Don't let them fuck with your mind. Please don't let them fuck with your mind. Why you fucking talking all happy as shit? Why are you here? You, whom I could not save. I listened to you. I tried to understand you in your complex speech as I would be ashamed of another. By graves, there is no wizardry of words. You live in me in silence, like a cloud or a tree. Thank you. This next poem is in the same vein. Gonna get it. This is called "The Last Time I Saw Little Melvin." That was your watch, your shirt, your starter jacket. That was the brooch of your grandmother's chain. Full of old filtered metals taken to court you will never hang with them at. Never again. Those trinkets that turn symbols and faded out jewels that could and could never be sold. That was his arms, his hands, and his fingers that waved his gun at you, waved it in the cold. as his trigger wavered from side to side, as the rain shrunk his jersey into his bones, as the rain touched his pimples and then his eye socket, and then his blackheads and breast blades, the scars from that rock knew enough. Bobby, you have to keep the procession moving. Thank you. Two more poems? Two more poems. I just want to say that this, once again, I just want to thank everybody for buying this and making sure that I have a really great July. I have 5 left, including this one. Um, 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 I have nothing, but I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. I gave everything of my soul into this book, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm still gonna grow. I'm still gonna write. So 2 more poems. This next poem, was one of my first poems, and I looked at myself and I said, "Hey, maybe I don't suck at this." And in the 3rd grade, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. Other kids said I wanted to be president. I wanted to play for the Mariners. I said I wanted to be Whitney Houston's husband. This is in her memory. This, after W.H. Auden's In Memory of W.B.B. Yeats, is called Funeral Blues for Whitney. On the day you found what we were missing, a skinny, hungry, thugged out young boy stopped dead in front of a boombox. Runs were froze. Crap games almost deserted. Hood brothers that disfigured by public statutes were transformed by the sound waves of you back in the day. On you and your instrument, we young thugs agreed. You were wonderful back in the day. And far from our projects, little homies dreamed you an evergreen forest. Ghetto nerves were transfixed by radio plays, scattered over 1,000 stations. Scattered, squared to 1,000 more affections, immediately and all at once. Immediately every time we heard you and called ourselves to be better than we were. Immediately as we dreamed to be something grand, if not grandiose, if only to win your heart. If only then we would scheme up some shit and unearth the sword from our grapple stones and win you, and live happily in your kingdom. The magic dust ate you alive. 2. Earth, receive a troubled guest. Whitney Houston is laid to rest. Let this Newark vessel lie emptied of our dreams. From the nightmare, all the dark, all the mask we had of your majesty ate your face. All our refusals to look into your blackness have blinded and scarred our eyes, have turned to brown ash all our crystal-strewn pedestals in a parable of genius and dust. And now you hang in memory over us, Our Lady of chemical and true human sorrows, trapped eternally in a crystal cage, only free in the shadow of Sirius, only free in fleeting notes and electrons of youth, love, and limitless potential, before the earth turns slow to a curse. One more poem. This poem's called Value Village Love Poem. Old jackets don't fit, love, but did they ever? Insignias and hats fade in the cycles of discount trend racks. Jerseys and Spanx contract arbitrarily, and scarves hollow in the clique lights without the heads that gave them meaning. Age and price may dictate our shape, but wherever you are is the boulevard. Let me adorn you a crown of price-check rosaries. Let my love be the alms that never signal, for without you whose earrings are metal. Extensions just threads away from their orbit, away from their center and star. At the price to infinity are posters and memories that will splice the hood to the meridian's invisibility. In my arms you were never gone. My dear roundaway girl, dance with me by the cell colors. Time may erase all style to memory, but the intercom is playing our song. You have been wonderful. Thank you, and thank you.
Hello, hello. So, I have a dear friend who has been quite ill the past 4 years or so, primarily long COVID, but she has made the decision to stop food, and shortly will be stopping water, and except for the meds that she's taking. So as I am working to both pre-grieve her and support her on her journey. I see you, Jean, around the umbrella there. This was something that I wrote in a response to a letter she sent out. You are light and love and lift herself. Your body, though knotted, shrunken, and tired, is mightily still, if mightily still. Let me read that again. Your body, though knotted, shrunken, and tired, is mighty still, if mightily still. Your mind, full of life's learning, is a fluent interpreter of each present moment. Now, and now, again, now. It is no death sentence to which you acquiesce, but a hand extended to adventure onward to what lies beyond. Beyond pain, beyond limits, beyond knowing, to know better still. We shall see you in the frond, flower, feather, fin, fur, and freckle of all beings. Feel you in the dew and hues of days breaking open, in the grand stride of noon's heat when lilacs are most fragrant. The cool down starts at eventide as moisture is held within a cloud breezing by. Toward the quiet black of night which unfurls into a symphony of frogs calling one another by their name, on bats' wings chirping. We shall hear the parts you play in the grand instrumentation from quaver to semi-breve, and the rests in between, for without them, music is but noise. And with naked eyes we shall see you as you truly are, in the stars above, in this galaxy, and beyond. The moon will rise before she sets, will nod at the sun from whose sparkling eye he proffers a wink as they pass in the cosmic hallway, as each resumes their shift. Day into night, into day, into night, a Mobius strip of an endless cycle, millennia old, with untold eons yet to come. You will be there in it all, for never were you not. This is not a farewell. There is time, however much of it you choose. My only question is this: how may I ease your journey at this time? One more? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're like the most laid back taskmaster I've ever known.
That's why I'm not a very
You're like, sure. I'm not going to give this a preface, except that this was right? Except that, here it is. The poem I'm about to share was, I'm very grateful that it was included in the inaugural issue of Breathe. And I haven't contributed again, but it's been here and here to do so. Thought balloons, spoken words. Walking up a city street, I approach a man approaching me. We anticipate passing each other, but do not avert our glances or cross the street. I relish when I witness the glorious pride of an approach, confident gait, shoulders broad, sheer natural panther in human form. Let's drop the posturing walls between us, lend douching smiles with the people that we greet. Let's aim to be better, higher versions of ourselves. Amidst these societal hurricanes, our thought balloons meet in the stillness in between. Thought balloon hands extend ghost like offerings, fist bump, handshake, two pats on a shoulder. Thought balloon inside its silence shouts, I'm so tired of this bullshit. Our spoken word voices proffer audibly, hey, hey. Up nod of our heads, slightest glance, us passers-by, our backs now face each other on our own ways. Blues and reds of black and white flash past. Our walks on pause, we turn to see. Our eyes reflect our gazes once more, but our minds jot different notes of this pop-up audited class. Would that these lights signal our victories, not violations for the speed we travel to attain our dreams. Blues and reds drive by. How I wish your skin were never threatened by a badge, that you could freely exist, and that I could deflect all badges with these white, privileged, quasi-magical wrist bracelets welded on me at birth. On these shoulders, I carry all the baggage of being a female minority, too, so when you see me coming, please know I feel their weight, as they are shackles of their own. Thought balloons close their eyes, heads lowered, then risen. Spoken word voices rise in hallelujah. Shoulders drop with ease, sighs to meet. I and I. Let our thought balloons descend into our voices and together release our spoken words. Thank you. Next up
Indeed,
is
it is a bit surreal. Yesterday, I was jogging through St. Stephen's Green in Ireland early in the morning, and today here I am in the Poetry Plaza in West Seattle. It's weird. Whew. I have a number of poems I wrote and wrote and wrote all through my trip in Ireland. I'd hoped to do some open mics, but all of the open mics were happening during the celebration of Bloomsday, which is all about, of course, James Joyce. And all the poetry was there, and I was there on the very last day. I saw the final ceremonies, but did not get a chance to be a part of that. My sons and I had been traveling all throughout Ireland for the previous 2 weeks. Anyway, these are two poems that are actually poetry in progress, but I will share them what I have. This one is called "Welcome Home." I went into a pub in Tralee last Thursday, I believe, and in the pub it was filled up with people, and there was no music. I thought there was going to be music that night. And a man came over to me, he had a cane, and he said, "Are you new to the neighborhood?" I said, "Well, kind of." And I told him that I'm 100% Irish. My grandparents grew up not far from here, and I just needed to be back here and to be in Ireland, to be. And he was very, very nice. And I said, "All these people here, but there's no music." He said, "No, on Friday nights, we all gather in the pub to talk to one another. Just to talk." And the conversations, everyone is chattering. It's magical. Anyway, this is called "Welcome Home." I met Mike in Tralee in a crowded pub with animated villagers, loud and laughing, who come here just to talk to one another, as I watched and wished to my heart's content. Mike struck up a chat. He's a retired nurse, me, a weary traveler, each asking for answers to unanswered questions. He told me his story. I told him of my Irish ancestors. He bought me a whiskey, and we toasted to time as he said with a warm Irish smile, "Welcome home." Thank you. In one of our adventures, we went to discover the ancient tombs on the top of this mountain. We had to climb for like a half an hour to get up there. And when we reached the top, there was a place to sit, and there was a young woman sitting there. She was probably in her 30s, and she was just kind of staring off. And so as we walked by, I said hello, and she said hello, and she said, "Would you like to sit for a while?" And I said, "Yes." And she told me a little bit about herself, and she lived in this small, tiny village at the bottom of the hill for 30 years or so. She had a brother in New York who was a priest. And she said she would come there like once a month, once a week, just to dream. And in the mist and the fog in this high mountain, sitting alone, this is called Phoebe. As we climbed the Irish mountain, in a distance, a bench and a distant image of a young woman sitting in the stillness of the morning mist. The closer we got, the brighter she shined, covered up nicely against the howling wind, inviting me to sit for a spell, cautious and curious of we, and we of her. She's never left her Irish village, but lamented the love of her brother, a Catholic priest in New York, as her eyes leaked love in a tiny tear, and her breath was full of dreams. Her nails were painted orange. Her heart was fixed on the magnificence of the green velvet mountain, surrounded by 5,000 years of history. She comes here every week to simply breathe the breath of yesterday, alone with her dreams on the mountain of the witch. And the last poem I want to read is I was delighted and honored to be in the anthology that Woon put together, and I'm so sad that he isn't here today. I'm so sad that he's suffering and struggling and on the journey. And this is called "In Praise of the Kind and Giant Poet." He speaks through his heart, which bleeds onto the page, adorned with the majestic colors of time and time again. A tender voice, whose chooses kindness over chaos, wonder over the mundane, with streams of words and feelings sprouting into an endless springtime garden, despite the wild winds of winter and the raging storm. Words remain long after we're gone. They illuminate the memories that allow us to think, allow us to feel, allow us to remember. And it's in the remembering that the soul is soothed. The kind and gentle poet writes, reads, feels, and gently bows to the gods of time, ever present, evermore. Thank you all. Now let's hear
In the spirit of less is more, I'm going to read one piece. And first, I want to take a little show of hands. In your cabinets, your dishes and glasses and so forth, how many of you put the glasses right side up with the open? Okay. How many of you turn them upside down with the bottoms up? Okay. The reason for this will become apparent. It's called the upside down glass holds no milk. My girlfriend at the time, live-in partner, was happened to be a waitress, so she put the glasses facing down, so they always knew those were the clean ones. The upside down glass holds only the perpetual absurdity of my friend who continues to talk with me as he is pouring milk from a carton onto a glass that he has just retrieved from my kitchen cupboard because he is so involved in his telling and hasn't noticed that the glass is upside down. And thus the milk obeys gravity and streams out of the carton and bounces off the bottom of the glass in a perfectly symmetrical light white liquid umbrella down onto his sandals and splatters onto the floor, a fact which he fails to recognize for about 3 or 4 long seconds, which is long enough to reframe the whole reality, a reframing enhanced by the sight of the white umbrella and the feel of cool milk on sandals. And so he leans back into a full-throated baritone laugh. Ha 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 ha! Still holding the carton in one hand and the glass in the other, a laugh that echoes forward through my life for close to 60 years, and for which I love him forever. My God, you can't make this stuff up. A perfect example of good intentions gone bad, of a spiritual moment rescued from spilt milk, a recognition of priorities turned upside down into a communion ceremony on the altar of the kitchen floor. And in that moment, I am forever in love with the upside down glass, in love with his outrageous laugh, with the floor, with the milk, which gave its all, with the astonished dog who rushes in to assist with the morning, with all of it forever.
Oh man, what a
And
great
next.
scene this is. Okay. Well, the crows inspired me. I guess I'm always agonizing about what poems to read, but I have to read this one because the crows told me to. As poets, we love crows, right? Yeah. Origin of crows. Forgive me if I speak of it again. The legend of their genesis. Part crocodile, part chicken. Fear teaching them to take their way skyward, bring black to the clouds. Or the myths. Witches familiar, companion of gods, riding wind as they grip thoughts in their claws, lay them like rubies in Odin's imperial hand, so he can choose again and again who suffers, who dies. We see them screaming some old language in a blown out tree, or in lines of down valley flight, bound for trouble, their voices clawed and scraping, almost legible, like they could live on our shoulders, shit on our shirts, pick jewels from our hair. Maybe it matters. They savor the dead, suck eyes out of hatchlings, steal brass off a corpse's chest. There they are, pieces of night, flip side of light, everything occult or forgotten, not just soaring together, soulmates, bonded accomplices, getaway drivers on the way to the bank. So many of our acts are unpardonable, and our drives and our longings have, as our detractors warned, returned to the nighttime roosts of self-hate and decline. But the crows, they're laughing, forever dressed in their best midnight finery. They revel in carnage. Hoppy dance, to sin. They're so good at being bad.
I was going to throw the
Paul.
crows a peanut when they were here, but I thought, oh, I don't think I want to mess with those crows. The 20th Poetry Postcard Festival is happening starting on the 4th of July. Registration's kind of hot and heavy in the last few days, so you want to bookmark. I have some, and we're going to be having a collage station at the Hillman City Block Party on August 8th. That party itself is going to be fun. And then that evening, I'll be reading at Bradner Gardens, the annual concert there. I'll be reading with a band. I got a post of this on my website, and you can check it out. By the way, Winter in America Again is, and Winter in America Still, is a reference to Gil Scott-Heron, who in 1974 had a song called Winter in America. And so we wanted to show a sense of our lineage. And then in the new book, Winter in America Still, there is a part of an essay by Eldon Nielsen. Do you know his work, Robert? Eldon Nielsen? He's one of the premier scholars of African-American poetry in the United States. He'll be in town for the PAMLA conference in November, the Pacific Ancient and Modern Language Association conference happening downtown November 10, 11, and 12, I think. Anyway, his essay, he was a student of Gil Scott-Heron's for 1 year, and he believes that Gil Scott-Heron should be seen as a literary figure and not necessarily as a pop figure. So that's his thesis, and the book will be coming out. In fact, one edition of the book has been out and released at Naropa by the ever energetic Roxy Power, one of the editors. But it'll be here in about a month, I think. And there will be a reading for that book at the 10th Cascadia Poetry Festival in October at the Rainier Beach Community Club, October 9, 10, 11. I didn't know I was going to be reading, so we had a reading this morning as part of the Scrib Fest, and I had some books, and I'll read this book because I was kind of feeling in an elegiac mood. Send good healing energy to Kun Wu, and hope that we get a chance to see him read again before too long. And this is called Letter to Sam Hamill. Dear Sam, when I searched the past for you, you'd not be Basho sleeping next to pissing horses or Levi dead drunk reaching for the full moon's reflection. You can rarely see the Cascadia moon, and you're more a sea guy than a man about rivers. Leave that for Sund and the bunch. More measured than falling for that old reflection trick, though his moon lunge might have been the equivalent of Kevorkian in Tang-era Xi'an, and the boots remain muddy. How Rexroth's alive inside you, the last first guy here looking east. I think about you, how you love to tell stories and always happy to set you up. Take long, tall Dexter at Centrum. They're going to play scales even if they're the master class. How that phrase reverberates with the unwillingness to humble oneself. Ah, Port Townsend. Will you visit there after your last taste of cold Otokoyama return as a whisper in the poplars of Cape George or leading the Congress of Trees? We're still digesting your last will and testimony, your final habitations. I thought it was your Zen golf concentration with which you screened out backswing distractions, but no, just your hearing aid turned off. How at Avalon you'll watch the eagles, no, a baby eagle as it flies overhead while you shoot for birdies after a good drive or settle for a layup and take your bogey like a man. Nowadays, 4,000 Facebook friends will keep your keyboard chattering about fracking, Guantanamo, bigots parades, modern-day McCarthy's, outsized CEO pay, or Rachel Corey mixed in with a dash of the masters. Strive to be a poet of modest renown, taking Kuan Yin over Christ for Christ's sake, happy with cold Momokawa. How you'd say in an interview you could do the Kevorkian in not so many words, your last poems of the melancholic, but if generosity be love, your love studies paid back abundant. And there'll be stories galore, maybe the Zen boot camp you ran called a writer's workshop, and continued resentment from the dilettante periphery you'd warn about over and over, having felt their wrath. They who'd envy you want a photo with you, but not want the 5 a.m. wake-up calls and strange languages, or how they'd court the company of dabblers to approximate the feelings of masters, the lifelong shortcuts you refuse to take. In death, you'll be a wise-ass raven above the ferns and moss, urging a poet yet to be with a perfect 7-beat image, then gone, a blur of black in one of 100 avenues of gray across the sky, as we hunker down for life without that irascible orphan who lived it all as a sacramental relationship that lasts always, always urging us to live as if we'll be measured by stone. Please welcome from Belly.
Now, I am not drunk, but I have really terrible balance. That's why this. First one. An octopus escapes his garden for the sea. Inky the octopus, with a body the size of a soccer ball, was resident of the National Aquarium of New Zealand. He escaped from his tank when his lid was left ajar. He pulled himself across the floor to a 10-centimeter drain, through which he poured and flowed himself 50 meters through a pipe to freedom in the sea. Do octopuses know of claustrophobia? Is freedom at sea with its hazard and struggle worth the trial of possible death by drain? Did Inky show mankind that being different is not enough to justify a well-appointed prison? Did he reject the blessings of the zoo's security state? What needs did Inky find unmet in an octopus's garden by the sea? Had he the smarts and soul to know and show that a well-armed mind cannot be held prisoner forever? Adam and Eve in the garden might have thought the same. Did they know that knowledge and freedom trump security and ease? Was Eve's apple, like Inky's drain, the only way out? Thank you. Next one is woman with curves. Well, yeah, you are, but that's quite small in the overall scheme of things. There's your smile and the light in your eyes, the grace with which you enter a room or sit. That shows you've been a dancer and your soul still is. There's the cool of your touch, the warmth of your palm, and the soft of words from your mouth. The peace you bring into a home and then install at table. The wisdom and sense behind your eyes. Those are you. I am cluttered. You are order. May I see more of you? Usually I don't get up without or with a sheaf of loose papers. Losing 50 when you're in front of 100 people is a mess. Burning Bush, our religious poem for today. Moses talked to a burning bush and God spoke back from the fire. Was it really the voice of God that issued from the flaming shrub that sparked those 1,000 years of nationhood? Or was Moses really just out of lithium? And the last one, this is from a true happening of World War II. My father was a Army medic and ambulance driver during that war. And this is one of his adventures or otherwise. Uh, he left me with a new idea from an old war. Starts, for some old vets, memories of war are still in present tense. Dad was the oldest man at 28 in his company, so his nickname was Pops. Pops remembers Germany, early 45. The cold, not so bad as the week before. There's water there in all the ruts, mud everywhere, sucking, lubrication over ice. Steering is just suggestion in that mess. Depend on speed to carry through explosions into ponds across the road. The Jeep can do it, ambulance not at all. He drives a little slower coming back, the worst of wounded on litters tied across the back and hood, one sitting in the shotgun seat, if not too tied there, if not too bad, if he's looped on morphine. Pops hates the open road where forest explodes on his left when going out, his right from coming back. He does a herky-jerky with the throttle and the brake to confuse a German gunner's dreaded aim. Maybe they really do intend to miss. The spotter can read the cross on my arm and helmet for sure. Maybe. He's hoping they are Wehrmacht, not SS. Older troopers too, because the young think less of mercy. He remembers one day coming back, the 88s have stopped, but 3 guys hide behind, shoot around a stuck truck with shattered windshield. Pops, with 2 wounded, takes cover too, slides the Jeep in behind with them. A sniper's been in that forest there all day. We think he's in the 3rd fur right. Can't see him well enough, can't hit him either. Will you try a shot? Pops declines, says, you hit him, I'll go get him. There are more cautious exchanges. Finally, he's down below the triple fir clump on the right. Pops goes out. Cautious, dragging a litter into the trees, he sees 2 eyes looking up from the wreck of a face. Then their shock segues to agony and fear. Pops morphine, and the litter open. He ties the sniper to it, drags him easy to the road, a hard drive back. Freddie, Jack, and Brillwig are still alive at triage. The German goes in second under scalpels and steel, blood and stinking ether. Pops reflects now. Sometimes mercy serves as payment on a debt we owe an enemy. Mercy serves as payments on the debts we owe our enemies. Thank you.
Come to think of it, maybe I should start my every reading with this poem. It's a huge understatement to say English phonics and pronunciation leave a lot to be desired. The only people who don't know that are native speakers. The only people that can tell you that are foreigners, to whom native speakers won't listen, and the foreigners are left with huge desires to say what they cannot say. Sure. have a couple of poems from my Mr. Smith buys a gun chapbook, Blind Leading the Blind. On February 4th, 2025, a concealed weapon permit was granted to Terry Sutherland, a blind Indiana resident. He signed his application with his white cane in hand and stumbled his way to the gun store. Based on a fact. This one is not based on a fact. Gunman's confession. Well, Father, I have one shot left. I'm not going to waste it on a stranger. I'll make sure it's someone who deserves it. Remember what you did? Let's go for a walk. Our book club was discussing my book of poetry, a bilingual Polish-English edition. I read the Polish text. Lynn Coffin, a friend and a co-translator and author of more than 30 poetry books, followed with English. The friendly atmosphere was interrupted. A couple of readers kept questioning the use of one word in the English translation. No explanation could satisfy the couple's objection. They kept coming back. Several people came to the word's rescue, but the couple's incessant insistence got under my skin. And people asked me why I don't have a gun. And this is about to Debbie. I looked it up, and the word in Hebrew is lezayin. You can look it up too. The poem is titled Mr. Bow. Very talented Mr. Bow could easily reach high and low or anywhere in between on his beloved violin. He'd profess his love every night to a C chord that was uptight. He'd tease her with his white hair, a prelude to a culture affair. She knew he could touch and caress. Every sound she made said yes. Trembling, she'd go into a trance as he swooned, tiptoed, and danced. He touched her waist, moved down the scale. Her protests were to no avail. He was losing his touch and hair as he played the last of the affair. As he played the grand finale, she responded with cordiale. She cried out in raptures and pain until she went madly insane. She coiled, twitched, and expired, 2 pieces of useless wire that could never recuperate, while he sported a new toupee.
Well, that's right. So thank you all. Thank you, Robert. It's just such a treat to have you here. And your Bellingham friends, thank you so much for your poetry and hanging in there. Thank you, Debbie. That was wonderful. I just really expanded my the range of your poetry. And thank you all for those of you who read at Community Mike, made it a very, very special afternoon into the evening. And Charmaine and I both are very appreciative and very grateful for you being here. Thank you.